you accumulate your experience, and with the repeated regular work in the simulator, you're generally well equipped for emergencies, even if it's, and thankfully I never had to get to this point, making the decision that we need to leave because we're in an end game. That's not always the case when you have things that are not so much an emergency, but close aboards or almost have mid-airs, etc. Most of them that I experienced, Phantom and in the Tornado, come about because you're doing an exercise where you're deliberately bringing two aircraft close together. And I don't really mean formation flying. What I mean is air combat manoeuvring, whether that's at height or you're doing low-level visual manoeuvring at lower levels. And it's happening because one or both crews fail to see the opposition early enough or appreciate that a closing, dangerous situation is developing. Why does that happen? Distraction, high workload. Sometimes it could be in the light conditions. I do recall we were doing some air combat well late into the day. Light was, well, we deemed it legal, but the sun position and what have you. And at a very simple situation where I was bearing down on the opposition, another F3, from high in his 3 o'clock, the other jet saw me in reasonable time and broke towards me, so turned hard towards me to negate any shot I might get. The problem was he, looking into the light conditions, didn't appreciate my aspect and pointed at me. Instead of just turning to reduce the distance to the safe minimum, he actually turned all the way in and nose pointed me. We then had, we're probably about 1,000 yards apart, but pointing at each other, closing very, very quickly. Yeah. And I was late appreciating what was going on. Again, I'll put it down to the light conditions, and we eventually missed each other, but well inside the safety margins. And that was well, how the heck did that happen? And then you realise, I think we should stop doing what we're doing now because the light conditions are not good enough to do air combat. Belatedly, we came to that conclusion, but both sides were fooled by what we thought was adequate light conditions. So that's typical of what happens when you then realise you've had, right, we'll talk about that on the ground, but thank goodness we could get back onto the ground to talk about it.